All right, so my thing that I'm doing is I'm going to be doing a in-service for teachers on using Google Drive for their student assignments, so kind of like a going paperless sort of thing. Preferably, I would do a actual face-to-face in-service with teachers so that we would have time to practice doing these things, uploading and sharing, and the different things I'll show you. And in that case, I would have practice documents available. But I would also make a webcast for those who are either unable to attend um, or are, needing a refresher in, a week or two after we do the in-service. So during this webcast that I'm doing right now, what I'll do is at the points during which I would be having like the actual participants be practicing something, I'll just kind of put a little box up and just kind of write in there what we would be doing at this point if I had the teachers in front of me. There are also documents. I made 3 different documents on different things that we'll be going over for the teachers to also use as kind of a refresher or just kind of here's an instructional sheet for you if you were unable to attend or if you forgot how to do something sort of thing. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you'll need to do is log into your Google Drive. If you have not been into your Google Drive yet, it's going to look like this. If you haven't made any documents at all, you'll have a blank Google Drive just like this one is. And most of you will probably have created 1 or 2 things. And so some of this might be a little bit of a refresher to you. Feel free to fast forward to the part that you need. But since there are a few people that have probably never gone into Google Drive before, I'm going to try to be very simple, start at the beginning to make sure that everyone gets on the same page so that it makes sense to everybody and nobody's, lost or behind or confused. So in your Google Drive, there are a couple different options for having, an assignment. And the first one is to create the document or the presentation. These are very similar to the Microsoft Office app or the Microsoft Office suite, excuse me. So document would be like Word, presentation, like PowerPoint, spreadsheet, Excel, and so on. You can also create folders, which we'll talk about in a minute. So let's say you were creating a test. You would go ahead and you could click document, and then you would make it just like you make your Microsoft Word files. And now most of you probably have plenty of assignments and tests created and stored on your hard drive, and there's no need to recreate those assignments. You can go ahead and you can upload them from your computer to Google Drive. Now what you do is next to the Create button, there's an Upload button. When you click that, you can have the option to upload files or folders. So if you have just a couple files or just one file you're uploading, you would use files. If you're uploading whole folders of like lots of documents, you would use folder. In this case, we're just going to upload one file to start with to show us how it works. So go ahead and click Files. And it'll bring you to your computer. Now, depending on what you're looking for, it might bring you right to the right folder like it did for me. Otherwise, it might take you just to My Computer, and then you have to go in and you have to find what it is that you're looking for. So we'll go back into this. Now, when you find the one that you want, you can either double-click the document or you can click on it once and click Open. And that will bring you to this Upload Settings page. Now, there's a couple of different options for uploading your documents or your files. If you know that you're going to want to edit them at any point, maybe you'll want to tweak some answers, maybe information for what you teach changes or fluctuates a little bit year to year or from class to class. You'll want to convert the documents so that you can work on them in Google. So it says convert documents, presentations to the corresponding Google Docs format. That means once you upload it, you'll be able to change things, edit them, add them in your Google Drive. If you leave this unchecked, what it does is just uploads the document the way it is, the file the way it is, and then you can't edit anything on it until you convert it. Generally, this is what I do. If you have anything, PDF, image files, you can check this box as well. This is just a simple worksheet, so I'm just going to leave the top one checked. and then we'll go ahead and click Start Upload. Now, depending on how many documents or how big of a document you have, it may take you a little while to upload, maybe a couple seconds, maybe a minute. As you can see, this one was very quick. It's just one document. I think it's only 2 pages. It was very quickly converted. So once it's uploaded, it'll tell you upload complete, and it'll say converted over here. If it fails, it'll tell you it fails. Generally, that won't be a problem. If it is, it'll give you kind of like a help as to what the problem was. But once it's uploaded, it shows you that it's uploaded here. Then it also shows you now that it's under your drive. So it says My Drive, Britannica Worksheet. We can go ahead and we can exit out of this now. So then the next part that you would do is once you open it, you open up the sheet. If there's anything you need to change, you would go ahead and change that. And then once everything is set and ready to go, once you're ready to give it to the students, you can go ahead and we can share. Now, for sharing, what we need to do is there's a blue button at the top right side of your screen that says Share. When you hold your mouse over it, it tells you the share settings that you currently have on there. So right now it says Private Only to Me. When you click on Share, it'll give you a link if you want to email, for some reason, email the link to somebody. Otherwise, it'll tell you who has access to it. Right now it's just me. As you can tell, I'm not using my email address for this. I'm using someone else's. But when you're ready to add students, or let's say you're sharing it with a coworker, you click down here and invite people, and then you add an email address or email addresses. And if you're just sharing it with a few people, you can enter their email addresses. If you're sharing it with a whole class, then I would suggest you talk to your tech person or your media specialist about setting up an email group so that you can just share it with one address that shares it with all of those students instead of sharing one document with, if you have 3 sections of one class, that's like 50 students. So that would be 50 emails you would have to put in. So when you're ready to add those people, you go ahead and type their email address in. And then you have a couple different options for the way that they get the worksheet. You can notify them via email address, and you can add a message if you want. So let's say, for example, you're sharing with students, you can do due date and then let them know when it's due. But I mean, obviously, you'll probably have told them, so you don't need to do that. You don't even need to give them an email. If they know that you're sharing it with them, then they will know that it's going into their Google Drive. And then they don't have to worry about going into their email and looking at it and then deleting the email. They can skip that step and go right into Google Drive. On this right side of where the email addresses are, you can see the words Can Edit. If you click on that, we've got 3 options here: Can Edit, Can Comment, and Can View. Now, if you're sharing this with, let's say, a teacher, you're team teaching a class, and this is the test you came up with, and you want them to take a look and edit it, make changes, you would want to leave it as Can Edit. But when you're sharing with students or a group of students, you want to do Can View. Now the reason for this is, let's say you've shared it with your 50 students, your 3 sections, and Susie Q goes home and is working on it right away when she gets home, and she does the first 10 questions before Robbie signs on and even starts. If the students can edit, if all the students are allowed to edit the document you shared with, anything that Susie writes for answers, Robbie's going to see when he logs in. So he logs in and the first 10 are done for him because Susie's already started it. Now you don't want that, because then all 50 students are editing the same document together and you're not going to know who actually worked on it or who didn't do anything. So when you share with somebody, what you want to do is you want to do Can View for your students. Now what this does is this gives them a very limited version of the document. Now if you unchecked email, you go ahead and click OK, and then it'll show you that they edited it, or that you added them, then click Done. So the version of the document that the students are going to get is not going to allow them to edit it. They'll be able to see the document, but they won't be able to type in any changes yet. I'll show you in just a minute how those students would go about filling in their assignment. But let's say you share with your students and you realize that you forgot to check or to set it to Can Edit or Can View. You've set it to Can Edit. What you can do is you can go back in, and next to the names of the students or the group email, you click on what you've got set there, and then you can change that option. So let's say that it was set to can edit. You go in here, you just change can view, then you save changes and click done. Now when the students log in, and this is something that you'll need to show them because they probably will not understand if they've never done this before. When the students are into the document, they go into shared with me and they'll see that the document is here. When they click on it, they are going to realize that they cannot edit it. So if you look here, I can click around, but I'm trying to type and nothing's happening. So you'll probably have students who are frustrated and they think, well, I can't get into it, I'm not doing it, or they'll try to print it off and do it with a pencil then afterwards. All they need to do to be able to edit this document is to go File, Make a Copy. When they make the copy, it'll ask them to put in a new name, and you can instruct them as to what you want them to call it. So you can call it, Krenzke Britannica Worksheet. You have them use their last name, anything like that, and then it'll create for them a worksheet that's their own that they can now click into here and they can put in their answers. So this worksheet now with their name or whatever they call it is only in their drive, so they are the only one that have access to it, so it is definitely their work, their document. Now when they're done, all they need to do then in response is to go ahead into the share settings and reshare it with you. So now they've got their document, they've shared it with you, and it's back into your drive. Alright, so when you look back into your drive, so go back into My Drive, and you go under where it says My Drive, there's a section for Shared with Me. When you click in there, any document, any file at all that the students have shared with you will be in here. So the one that I just shared, Krenzke Britannica Worksheet, is here. Now when you click on the file that the students share with you, it'll come up, and had I made any changes into this, entered any answers, all of that would show up for the teacher, for you, so you'll be able to, scan through it quick and say, alright, is everything done? Does it look like it's been done well? And if you notice right away that anything's missing, you can go ahead and contact that student right away and let them know, hey, something's missing, something's not done, you missed a question, and they can go in and fix that right away. The nice thing about that is if they have to go in and fix something, they don't need to reshare it with you. Any changes that they make to their file will automatically update in the file that's in your drive that they've shared with you already. Okay, now let's go back and look at our shared drive. Now there's just the one document in here now, but let's say again that we've got that class of 50 students, or that 3 sections where you've got 50 students in your class, or even a class of 25 students. Can be a little overwhelming if they've shared, multiple assignments with you. So the next thing that you might want to do is might want to organize. Now I know a lot of times middle school teachers will have, 3, 2, 3, maybe 4 sections of the same class, for example, language arts. So you might want to make folders for each of your language arts classes. Now the way to make folders, if you go into My Drive, what you can do is under Create, you can click Create and click on Folder. Or if you come up here to this button up here, we've got, if you hold your mouse over it, it says New Folder in My Drive. So when you click on that, it'll say New Folder, and then it'll have you type in what the name of that folder is. So let's say Language Arts. Alright, so I create my Language Arts folder. Now let's say I have 3 classes of language arts. I have first hour, third hour, and fourth hour. When I click on my language arts folder, you can see up here it says My Drive, Language Arts. And I can go ahead and I can create, the hours, the different folders for the hours. So I'm getting very specific, very organized about where everything is going. Now, if you go back into Shared with Me, you can select the different documents. So let's say I'm going to move all of my third hour documents. So I find all of the kids that are in third hour, I check the box next to their document, and then I go up here to this folder icon and it says Move To. Clicking on this will bring up this page that says move to, and then it gives you options. Now, I've created a language arts folder. So if I click on this little arrow here, it'll drop down and show me the folders underneath it. I've got third hour. I might have first and fourth hour as well. I just created one folder for now as an example. And when I've got the check mark next to the folder I want to move it to, I do move. Now, if for example I created third hour, but I forgot to create first hour and I need to move it to first hour, I can click create new folder, type in first hour, click create, and then I have an option to do that. Now, I want to move it into third hour, so I go ahead and I click that and I move. And now, if I look in here, it should be, here we go, under third hour. We don't need this first hour folder. So, my drive, language arts, third hour, and there's my document for the student who's in third hour. And once you've moved all of those documents into your other places, then it's very easy to go through and say, all right, I'm going to grade this hour. Here are all the documents. You just go through them one by one, and then you've only got to worry about those, 15, 20 in that folder as opposed to all 50, and then trying to figure out which hour they are in. All right, so if there are any questions, you can rewatch this webcast as many times as you need to. You can fast forward or rewind to the certain specific parts that maybe you're struggling with. There are handouts for the different things that we went over. We have a handout for uploading documents. There's one for the sharing of the documents and one for creating the folders, which we just did. Otherwise, you can email me, contact me, call me anytime. A lot of times, too, you can either ask the teachers nearby you, or even the students a lot of times know how to do some of this stuff before we as teachers do too. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much.